In Hebrew? What is the word? Sin'ah. I'm not asking you to translate it now. Could any of the first three facts bring about hate, sin'ah between Yosef and his brothers? Yes or no?
Yes. Let me know.
And the first three facts?
Like that is the first three.
The first three facts of this pasuk. Could any of them arouse sin'ah between the two? Between the two, Yosef and his brothers? No. Absolutely not. Even if we go according to Rashi that brings the Midrash, that he's acting like a youngster, he's, fixing his hair and doing things that youngsters do and looking at his eyes to make sure this, it could be that Yosef is thinking about the outsiders, the nations, the Canaanite nations around us. And you know what? He wants to make a good impression on the outside, that he's a good-looking guy, his hair is combed well like you. And let the neighbors, these non-Jewish Hebrew neighbors, think, maybe we can have good connections, good things. And maybe that'll allow us to hang out here for a few hundred years. Could it be? Yeah. That's Masen Na'arut, maybe to explain what Rashi is saying in the Midrash. That's not negative. Where do we get something negative? Fact number 4. Fact number 4 is positive or negative about Yosef's behavior. Fact number 4 of Pasuk 2. Vayavei dibatam hara'a el avihem. Now the word diba is always a bad report. Diba is a bad report. However, we learn Torah properly. We try to do it. And the Ramban says it here. Many others say it elsewhere. Lotzi diba and lehavi diba are two different situations. Okay. Lotzi diba is false defamation. To tell lies. Is that what's written here?
No.
It says,
yes, evil report.
I repeat, lehotzi diba is to tell false defamation about the person with the purpose of embarrassing, coming down on someone else and making sure that he is a downer. In contrast, there's a different term called hava'at diba. The bringing of diba is telling a true report, stated privately, between the one telling, without any publication, only to someone that maybe he has a concern about this matter. He has love, concern about this matter. According to the Abarbanel, when someone has the ability to speak the truth, evil truth about someone, to someone that's in a position to influence, to change, to reprimand that person, then you're allowed to do it. What does it state that Yosef did? He brought what type of diba? What type of bad report? A true, exactly. A true bad report about his brothers. True. Lavi diba. It goes like... okay. This pasuk bet that we just read, before we get to pasuk gimel, is showing us that Yosef has real concern about his brother's behavior, his brother's speech, his brother's how they manage themselves. What do we see the result of this? And he does it not once. You with me? He doesn't do it twice. He does it all the time. He's always going to Abba and saying, you know what they're doing? You know how they're behaving. And it's true. But it's something negative about them. Let's see what Pasuk Gimel, verse 3, teaches us. It says, number 1, V'Yisrael Anat. And number 2, it says, Ahavet Yosef Mikol Banav. Does Yisrael love all his sons?
Yeah.
He's showing, though, favoritism to Yosef. In other words, all his sons are loved. But he loves Yosef what?
Even more.
More than the others. Why? Ben Skunim. Now it's hard for us to explain Ben Skunim that Yosef is the child born when his father is oldest. Why is that not true? Benjamin is born later, several years later. And therefore, we look at the second no, it doesn't bring the second interpretation. We look at Onkelos. What does Onkelos say for those that have Onkelos? Steve, you have it, I think. Do you not?
Which pasuk?
Be a wise son.
You have Onkelos? Bar Hakim. Yosef is so special. He's so wise. One meaning is he's the youngest of all the kids, or of the youngest, but it's not so clear because you said Benjamin is born. But of all the 12 kids, he's the sharpest. He's the smartest. In other words, whatever Torah he learns from his father, he knows it on the spot, every word. In other words, the entire Torah of Yaakov, Yosef absorbs all of it, more than the others. That's what Onkelos says. Baruch Hakim, he's the wisest of all the kids. And the father, every time Yosef comes to him, he sees the points that he's making. He's talking about the morals and the behavior and the speech of his brothers. Okay? Every time he accepts it. And then the other sons come, maybe, Abba, it's not. Whose side did he always side with? Yosef. Yeah, Yisrael always siding with Yosef. However, Yosef is worthy. He's so wise. His nature is so special. His talents are so great that who decides to give him a special garment?
Yep.
Yisrael. A garment that maybe some call it a cloak of royalty, a garment of greatness, because when Yisrael looks at Yosef, it is as if he's looking at himself. The Talmud even says, Rashi brings it, that he had the same facial appearance as his Abba. Go back to the beginning of the Parashat. Eile, Toldot, next word, Yaakov, and then
Yosef.
Eile, these are the generations. The events are coming out of Yosef. Were there no other sons? Of course there are. But Yosef is so like his father in qualities, in greatness, in wisdom. Now, why does it say Yisrael? Ahav et Yosef mikol banav. Yisrael, instead of many of you said immediately, fantastic, not Yaakov. We're talking about Yisrael looking into the future for the development of what will be called Klal Yisrael, the nation of Israel, the collective. A higher level of seeing Yisrael than Yaakov, correct, as we learned. And therefore, Yisrael and not the name Yaakov, because the father right now is demonstrating a special love to a son, and his considerations are not small things, great things. Yosef will become a leader. He will become a leader of all his sons. That's what he sees. He has the qualities, the wisdom. How did his brothers judge the situation? How did his brothers judge the situation? What did they estimate? In verse 5, okay? I'm sorry, not in verse 5.
Verse 4.
In verse 4, thank you. Vayiru. Let's all read it together. Verse 4. Chad, shtaim, shalosh. Vayiru echav. Ki oto ahav aviyam mikol echav. What is their saying? How are their eyes painted? How are their eyes subjectively observing the situation? That their father loved Yosef mikol who? Mikol echav. Yisrael, look over here, loves everyone. And therefore it says he loves Yosef of all the sons. He loves all the sons. How do the children, they're adults, how do they interpret it? That God, Yaakov's love for Yosef, Ahav aviyah mikol echav. Echav enat He loves, the father loves Yosef, mikol echav. What's the point?
Then all of the kids combine together.
It doesn't say mikol.
Just me.
What's the other possibility? It says the father loves Yosef from all the brothers. But it doesn't say that he loves Yosef from all the sons. The self-value of the sons has declined. They're as if they're not the sons of Yaakov. Their subjective judging the situation is that Abba doesn't love us as the sons. And therefore it says, V'Yisrael ahav ki oto avaviyem mikol echav. Echav and not banav. As it's stated in Pasuk 3. Now, Abba decided to give preferential treatment, okay, to one of the brothers. That's how they see it. And every time we're arguing, he justifies whose side? Yes. Yaakov justifies Yosef's side. And then they sense velo yachlu dabro l'shalom. They would not even be able to argue with him anymore. Now let's go back. Go back to the grandfather, great-grandfather, Avram Avinu. In Avram Avinu's house, 2 sons were born. 1 was chosen. In Yitzchak Avinu's house, again, 2 sons were born and only 1 son, 1 brother was chosen. What are they thinking? Even though we are 12, maybe the likelihood that 1 is going to be chosen. Gentlemen, they are thinking that when Yosef goes to their father to tattletale, he's telling not the truth about us. Not the truth. They're subjectively judging, and they're being caught here at impaired judgment. In Pasuk 5, when we're learning about the Chalom, Yosef has a dream. And he tells the dream to who? To his brothers. This adds Vayosifu otzeno otam. I want to stop right now at this point and tell you, we have to ask our great rabbis, our great teachers, what it means sin'ah. Today when you use the word sin'ah, it could mean aleph. Maybe then, long ago, sin'ah meant something otherwise. Our great mentor and Rabbi Tzvi the Cook, the only son of Rabbi Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Cook, would explain on the word sinah here, it's not sinah like you and I hate one another and really can't get along whatsoever. But here we're talking having a grudge over someone else. It's not hatred. Here we're talking about all of these 12 sons are giant spiritual leaders. Everyone is so holy, so righteous, and probably saintly. So let's not think about the home we grew up with or the neighbor that they're always fighting and there's hatred amongst brothers, or we hear about terrible things happening in our generations. No. Here we're talking about they're all holy, they're all great, they're all righteous. Sinners are holding a grudge. That's what it means here. We've already explained it otherwise in other places. When a man is married to 2 wives, it says one he loves and one he hates. What are you marrying her? What are you married to if you hate her? Rather, he loves her less. We explained at this table. If you remember Chumash Tvarim, we learned about these matters. Dream number 1 in Pasuk 5. What are we not told?
What he did, he told the brothers.
What the dream was.
What is the dream? Right? It doesn't say that, does it? Vayichalom Yosef chalom, vayaged le'achav. But the content, we all agree, is not mentioned here whatsoever. It's not explicit. And therefore, some of the commentators say that maybe the Torah is written out of klal and prat. That's the klal, the rule. And the prat, the details, are in verses 6 and 7. That's the perut, the details of dream number 1. According to this meaning, there were only 2 dreams that Yosef had and shared. In contrast, there are others, commentators, that said that indeed Yosef had 3 dreams. And this is even more exact to the wording of the Pasuk, because we see in verse 8 that the brothers talk about him al chalomotav in the plural sense, vi'al devarav in the public wording, meaning that maybe 3 times he had dreams. Later on, do you remember how many times we're going down to Mitzrayim before Yosef? The first time without who? Binyamin. The second time with Binyamin. And the third time going down with who?
Yeah.
Very good. So maybe these 3 dreams correspond to 3 times going down to Mitzrayim. I'm not asking any one of us, including myself, what we dreamed about last night, because we're not yet great figures of tzidkut. We're on our way. We're working on ourselves. But there are those that dream, and that is an aspect of prophecy. In other words, what they're dreaming about has truth to it, as if it's a prophecy. In any event, here we're learning that the brothers are judging Yosef not in a positive light, excuse me, but in a negative light. And they are judging him in a way that it's causing them to have a greater and greater grudge. What can we assume? That at this stage, after the telling of all these dreams to them, the brothers are caught based upon estimation, evaluation of what has happened until now. And right now, the tragedy that's about to happen, it seems as if there's no chance to prevent this tragedy that's happening here in the house of Yaakov Avinu. Is it clear? Can we imagine that Yosef feels that his brother's emotions towards him are terrible? Yet he always feels he has to tell the dream. Why? Why do we see that? Doesn't he know that they have a grudge against him? Why does he time and time tell what's going on in the dream? What's the answer according to this? If my dream is nivuah, prophecy, I'm not allowed to withhold it. I must share it. So it could very well be that Yosef is a prophet, and he's getting prophecy here through these dreams, and therefore he must share it. The question is, what's happening here? We're going to continue with this point in our next shiur.